We'll continue our discussion now about the custom control. So we were talking about the HTML label function, which just returns a NBSP character if the data passed to the function is a null value. So here you can see we're taking our template and we're converting grid.style to the name of the style that was passed in. So this now becomes, say, glass blue data TD. Then here's our loop where we loop over all of the records that were found that match the invoice number that was passed in. So you can see here we basically call the evaluate string function, which evaluates all of the expressions inside curly brackets over here using Xbasic. So for example, this here would get evaluated to the product ID in the first matching record, and then we're using the star concat function to concatenate the result of this evaluate string to this variable called HTML, which we're building up to contain all of the data for all of the rows. Then we fetch the next row, and then we continue in this loop until there are no more records. Then here are our column titles over here, which is just simply product ID, price, quantity, and extension. And here we put together the final HTML. So we have a table tag, then the titles row, then all the HTML itself, and then the table. And then you can see that we wrap all of the HTML in a field set control so that there's a nice frame that appears around the HTML, and we put in a legend that says invoice items. Then we close the table, and then we return the HTML that this function created. So it's a fairly simple Xbasic function that returns the embedded line items. And so now when we go ahead now and preview the data, you can see now that when the custom control renders, the function gets called, the invoice number for the current invoice gets passed in, and the function returns this HTML over here, which displays in the cell as linked items. So this is a fairly advanced example of how a custom control can be used to inject fairly arbitrary HTML in a cell in a grid row.